So we know around the country a lot of people have chosen to self-isolate with family members, which has obviously had a knock-on impact on the support that was being provided to them by either by their personal assistants or their care provider organisation. Lots of authorities are continuing to pay direct payments at the same rate, and also pay their care providers at the same rate that they're receiving, even though they're not technically delivering all of the support or even some of it at the moment. So that's great. Some areas have been slow to issue guidance to families around what to do, particularly where the family are managing a direct payment on behalf of the person. In those instances, what we've seen is kind of locally negotiated arrangements between their support provider and the family member, which can mean that you either continue to pay the provider at the same rate if they need it, or it could be that they negotiate a sort of reduced rate or a retainer rate to basically keep staff kind of held for contingencies. And some organisations have been able to fully redeploy their staff and haven't had to basically charge for the period when they're not providing support. So that's been very much on a by provider basis, and I think the situation requires a kind of discussion with the support provider around what their needs are and what the impact is on their business. Because if everybody stopped paying instantly for their support, that would create some problems for those organisations in terms of their sort of staffing budgets. So we would suggest that those, in the absence of guidance from the local authority, that you negotiate a settlement with your kind of provider and how to continue to pay them and what amount that they need to make sure that they're sustainable. And also thinking about contingency arrangements, because it's difficult once staff have been redeployed to obviously bring them back. So in the event somebody got poorly and could no longer care, it would seem pretty prudent to me to have a contingency arrangement with that support provider, which would probably involve paying either the full amount or a retainer amount to make sure that staff are kept available to support. So I know some commissioners have actually written out to families and suggested that they need to make their PAs redundant. If they're not actually providing direct care anymore, I would strongly advise to take advice on that, potentially legal advice, because I think that creates a big problem in the future, particularly where people have spent often months and years recruiting a team of PAs. To then obviously make that team redundant seems very short-sighted, particularly as hopefully there'll be a resolution to this crisis in the next few months, and obviously people will need their support to start back up again, and that potentially again could take months and years to re-recruit what were obviously very successful and functioning teams of PAs. So I would suggest in those situations that there's a discussion with the cases coordinator and the commissioner, and that people have, to make sure they have an understanding of the difficulties that present in terms of recruiting PAs. And if anybody feels uncomfortable and that they're being forced down that avenue in terms of making PAs redundant, I would suggest that they take some kind of legal advice and potentially challenge back commissioners in those scenarios.